Welcome back to Boom and Bust. I'm your host, Tony Clement, here with John Barlow, Member of Parliament for Foothills, Alberta, and also the Shadow Minister for Agriculture, Agrifood and Food Security for the opposition. John, we were just about to get into what's happening in Atlantic Canada, and I would love for our viewers across the country to understand what exactly is happening. So please continue with your analysis of that situation.
Well, the farmers in Atlantic Canada weren't paying a carbon tax before July 1st. And the Liberals have implemented or imposed not only one, but two carbon taxes on Atlantic Canada, where I had a PEI potato farmer send me the photo of the price of gas at the local gas station, and it went up 27 cents a liter since July 1st. So now almost $2 a liter for diesel, $1.84, $1.85 for gas. So this has been an incredible sticker shock to those producers who have not budgeted. They can't pass these costs on, that this is on their inputs. This is what they have to pay to farm. And this impacts, their fertilizer, their fuel, feed. All of these things are added costs onto these farmers in Atlantic Canada, who many of them are really questioning whether it's worthwhile, economically feasible for them to stay in business.
So really important point about the carbon tax. Now, you also mentioned some other challenges that Canadian farmers are facing and producers. I think one of them related to access to skilled or unskilled labor. Is that part of the issue as well?
Yeah, that's pretty significant. No matter where you are in the country, and I'm sure it's pretty consistent for just about every industry in Canada as well, is that inability to access the labor that is needed to meet our production costs and to ensure that we have the capacity to meet the needs not only here in Canada, but especially with agriculture, where we play an integral role in helping to feed the world. In agriculture alone, there's about 65,000 job vacancies across Canada, and it is becoming more and more difficult to fill those vacancies.
And is this an accelerating trend that you're finding?
It seems to be, Tony, where you've seen, traditionally agriculture would rely a lot on the temporary foreign worker program.
Right.
But you're seeing the backlogs in that program really cause some anxiety and stress within agriculture, because the timing of when you need to access that labor is so critical. You need them at seeding, you need them at harvest, you need them when they're processing fruit and veg. So if you can't access that labor, a lot of these things just don't happen, where we're leaving valuable commodities either in the ground or on the trees or in the greenhouses. And when we talk about food security and the cost of food, it's nonsensical, where we're leaving quality products unavailable for consumers.
Yeah, and this goes to the more general point that I know opposition leader Pierre Poilievre has mentioned as well. When he says Canada isn't working, he's not saying Canadians aren't working. He's not saying that our country is somehow a horrible country now, as per individuals or natural beauty or productivity. It's the question of government not being able to do what it used to be able to do. And it strikes me that when you're talking about temporary workers, foreign workers program, that used to be a given as a temporary way to make sure the food got off the farm and onto consumers' table. But it's not really working that way anymore, is it?
No, it's not, and you're bang on, Tony, where the Prime Minister has increased the public sector by more than 40%. And yet I don't know if our government and our country has been this dysfunctional, where the most basic services that the Canadians rely on, and certainly our farmers and processors who rely on that access to that labor pool, that international labor pool, are unable to tap into what has been a critical resource for them. And again, it's just a trickle-down effect. If you cannot access that labor, that those potatoes and carrots stay in the ground, the tomatoes and cucumbers stay on the vine, or in many cases, cows don't get milked. And Canadians need to understand, again, these are just added stresses and added anxiety, which more often than not lead to higher costs.
We've got about 30 seconds before the second break, but let's at least start to tackle the topic of red tape. You mentioned that at the outset. What did you mean by that?
Right. Well, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency and the Pest Management Regulatory Agency, PMRA and CFIA, are trending to making decisions not based on sound science. Continue to add red tape and new regulations on Canadian producers, which is making it more difficult for them to access the critical tools they need. But it's also making it extremely difficult for us to commercialize new innovations and new technologies, which would make agriculture that much better.
Okay, hold on to that thought because I don't want to lose it. We're going to take another brief break. We'll be back with our guest. Please stay with us.